next up, we have a true classic, and this movie actually has pretty decent ratings by most people on IMDb. It has right now a 7.6, and if you know anything about IMDb ratings for horror movies, a 7.6 is decently high. The plot is it's difficult. This is if you watch the movie without reading anything, what you can take from the plot is that is this young guy gets to a hotel and strange things begin to happen. Then he winds up at a house where other strange things begin to happen, and then other strange things happen, and he seems to be buried, but he's not because he's a ghost, but he's not, and other strange things happen, and there's also a vampire, I guess. I don't know. The movie is somewhat nonsensical in my opinion, and I've seen this movie before, so it's not even the first time. So there's a plot there, but it's not told in a particularly easy to understand way. And I know that some people really like that. It gives the movie a very dreamy feel, and plus the movie's in black and white. Plus the movie is, I mean, it's not a silent movie, but in many ways it feels like a silent movie.
Yeah.
So that also gives it more of an sort of a dreamy feel, and some people really like that, but it's not my type of thing. I didn't particularly enjoy it the first time I saw this movie, and I did particularly enjoy it this time. But before I say much more, I'm sure, Chucky, you had some pretty enjoyable feelings for this one.
Yeah. This is going to be like the shortest review ever. I mean, I was being really... I kind of went along with this movie because, you know, you've been doing a lot of action things. I know action's not your thing, so I thought I'd be nice and try and do something that wasn't my thing. And
I apologize.
All it's really done is just kind of reaffirm that.
Okay,
movies...
if I may say,
okay, sure.
If I may say one thing, most horror movies from the 30s are not like this. So.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, I saw the rating on IMDb. I was like, wow, that's a really high rating. So if there's any movie out there from, you know, the 20s, 30s, 40s, all that while back, certainly, you know, if there's something that I was going to enjoy, possibly this could be it. Admittedly, I didn't even get through the whole movie.
Yeah.
So, and to be honest, that may not just be because of the movie itself. It's more just I just don't enjoy all these really old movies. I could probably get into some of the stuff from the 50s and 60s, but I think anything before that I'm really gonna struggle with. And yeah, so like I said, I didn't even finish it. I probably got a little over halfway through, I think.
I will say this movie, and now unlike Chucky, I've seen a lot of 1920s and 30s horror movies, and I've seen quite a few, and this one has always. I mean, this was actually recommended to me by a friend of mine who knew I liked, you know, all the classics and thought, hey, you know, Jaggy, you should check out Vampyr. And I checked it out, and I was impressed by the dreamy feel to the movie. There's not that many movies I've seen that feel this sort of disjointed, and you know, this, you know, some movies like Eraser had from 1977, which sort of have the same type of feel, but I mean, I hate that one too. But this one was just, I just had a very difficult time trying to follow along with whatever plot was going on. And there was some interesting imagery. There's some, you know, it's occasionally like almost creepy things if they were actually happening, and I liked the use of shadows in some of the scenes. I mean, there's some really creative filming techniques here, and if you actually read into, like, you know, the way they made the movie, there's a lot of interesting things that they did, which is partially, I suspect, why the movie has decently high reviews. And it's also one of the last really big German horror movies until, like, I don't know, the 1970s probably. So, I mean, even historically speaking, it's somewhat important, but it's because of the disjointed plot. Even if you watch the whole thing, nothing's really made clear, and I don't know. It's a movie that is autistic. If you're in like film classes, you might watch this and talk about it and dissect it. But watching this for enjoyment, I just don't see it, and I don't particularly like the movie that much whatsoever.
Yeah, well, that sums up my thoughts. On top of just not really having any kind of love at all for movies of that era.
Yeah, so the fact that both you and I dislike this, it's interesting since we have somewhat different experiences with all the horror movies. So it's unfortunate because I wish I could be a big pro vampire guy and Chucky could be like an anti-vampire guy and we could fight this out. But no, I just don't care for this movie at all. And if you're looking for some classic horror to watch, even if you're looking for foreign horror, I can recommend plenty of silent German horror movies that are much better than this one. And I don't know, if you're into the whole dreamy atmosphere type thing, that's great and that's fantastic, and I'd recommend this one. But if you're into something with an actual plot, I would not recommend this. So despite my somewhat harsh take on this, there are some things I enjoy, even though I don't necessarily find the movie itself enjoyable. I appreciate the what they went for. I don't think it particularly worked well. I guess to many people it did. I mean, like I said, it's a pretty high rating, and it's not even a small amount of people who rated it. It's like 14,000. So apparently, quite a few people enjoyed what this is going for, and I did enjoy it, but I did appreciate it. And even though I disliked how they went with the story, I thought some of the plot elements, which I could understand, were okay. So I'm going to just throw this movie a 5 out of 10, which is definitely a below average movie. And this, I don't even know if I'd necessarily go out of my way to watch this one again. But I appreciate some things about it. But a 5 out of 10 is that's as best as I can do for this one.
Yeah. I mean, I think I've made it pretty clear that I just don't really care for movies from around this time. I mean, I respect it, but I don't necessarily have an appreciation for really any of it. So I just don't enjoy it, and I certainly don't see myself ever wanting to watch it again. So I almost feel like I should abstain from rating it, but if I must rate it, I'd give it a 2. And the only reason why I don't give it a 1 is because I still think, like I said, I respect it for its time. That is probably how movies were back then, how limited you were with what you could do. I guess there's something there, but it's certainly not as bad as watching someone just grab a camera, show their crotch, and say, "Here's a horror movie." So, yeah, but
at least it has a plot. Now, out of interest, out of the movies that you've watched for not just this episode, but for this whole show that we've done, is this the first one that you've not finished?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I didn't like turn it off or anything. I actually fell asleep.
Oh, I don't blame you.
And I mean, partially that's because my sleep pattern is just all over the place. So I was watching it shortly after work, and busy day, tired. Unless the movie was going to hold my attention, I was probably going to drop off no matter what it was, whether it was this or Dominique or
Die Hard.
Yeah, well, I mean, it'd have to be something really compelling probably to have kept me awake. So I didn't turn the movie off. I just happened to fall asleep and decided, I know I'm not going to enjoy the rest, so why bother?
I do appreciate the honesty. But he's not wrong, guys.